Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License Flight Number 5 with service to Las Vegas, Nevada. We ask that you please fasten your headphones at this time and secure your podcasting device, and make sure that all animal pheromones are stored safely in an airtight container. Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Curvis, joined by Max Singer and Rich Inman.
Rawr!
How are you boys doing?
Oh, really perturbed right now. That was definitely did not need to hear Max's on the prowl sounds. I think we got enough horny animals in this show.
I think you didn't hear it.
Well, for those who can't tell by the animal sounds, or maybe that we're going to Las Vegas, Nevada, this week we chose a little bit of a different direction. We're back in the year 2004, but not for Entourage or one of the many hits of that year, but for a little unknown classic, and yes, I am now calling this a classic because it is forever burned into my brain, called Father of the Pride. If you've never seen an episode, like most of the world, then you can find this on Peacock and all 13 episodes of it on Peacock. But before we dive in too much, this is set in Vegas. What are your guys' thoughts about Vegas? Do you have fond memories of it? What are your experiences as a whole?
I love Las Vegas so freaking much. I am such a sucker for Vegas. I've got such a soft spot too for the Mirage where the show takes place. It's the only Vegas hotel I've stayed at more than once. It was the first Vegas hotel I ever stayed at. And the first time I went, I was like a year out of college, and they've got a card game in the casino at the Mirage where you could just play War, like where you draw cards, you see who has the higher one. And I've never lost $100 so quick in my life as playing War with a dealer in the Mirage casino.
I love Vegas as well. I've been a couple times with both of you, and I do also want to say that the Mirage is part of history because it is part of a hotel conglomerate with the Bellagio and the MGM Grand, which I believe...
Wait, Rich?
Yeah?
Are those Terry Benedict's casinos?
Those are Terry Benedict's casinos.
Ocean's 11 reference.
Well,
Yeah, nary an Ocean's 11 reference made in this show.
Yeah, and as far as Vegas for me, I have gotten the experience of Vegas a little bit different than how they show it off in the movies. I've done the one night in a super fancy hotel on the Strip, and then I stayed in a timeshare, baby, right off the Strip at the Wyndham Grand Desert. Ooh.
All
Driving
right.
around in a Nissan minivan to go to the Grand Canyon as well as other destinations. If you want to have a great time on the Strip, I'm your boy. Over 30 Vegas, baby.
That's notably extremely off the Strip, Jeff. If you want to be able to see the Strip from afar, you got to hang out with Jeffrey Curvis.
Before we dive too much into Father of the Pride and the animals' perspective of Vegas, let's talk a little bit about the synopsis, right? So, Larry is a middle-aged, overweight white lion originally from the Bronx Zoo, who through a bizarre series of events becomes the star of Siegfried and Roy's world-famous magic show. Note he is replacing his father-in-law, Samardi. At times, Larry tries not to speak his mind, but usually ends up exposing his true feelings. Max, that has nothing to do with the pilot we watched.
I was about to say, I don't remember learning any of this. Did I need to watch it twice?
And John Goodman does not have a Bronx accent, so I have so many questions about how this got made. You have to let us know.
There is so much going on. So we're going to take it back to a little time called 2002. NBC Universal, Dreamworks, they're riding high on the success of a movie you may have heard of called Shrek. Shrek is going to come up in this podcast more than once, so I hope you like it as much as we do. Jeffrey Katzenberg, who is the head of Dreamworks, he's the former chairman of Disney Studios. He conceives the original idea for this show, and I have the greatest Jeffrey Katzenberg quote of all time. about the conception.
Before you get too deep in it, when you said Jeffrey, I was like, I definitely had nothing to do with this, and I don't want my name besmirched.
All right, picture this. It's an 11-year-old Jeffrey Kurbis.
No, Max, are you referring to Father of the Pride, and also Father of the Quibi, Jeffrey Katzenberg?
Oh, the man himself.
Oh my god.
Yeah, if you
This guy
want
cannot
someone
stop
to
making
make-
hits.
If you want a flop TV show, call Jeffrey Katzenberg, apparently. All right, so here we go. I wonder what it's like for those lions. What must it be like from their point of view? They're living in Las Vegas, trying to raise a family and earn a living. In animation, we look for those things. A way to look at our lives through a fantasy world. It allows us to take on subjects that are too difficult to do with real people. It allows us to be more controversial, edgier. There could be parody and innuendo and satire. Things can be sophisticated in a way that even our feature films can't be. These are all things I've also said to myself while walking through a zoo, but probably for different reasons than Jeffrey Katzenberg.
I mean, that sounds like a great TV show. Why are we going to watch that one?
Nope.
Yeah, Max, I don't think that counts if you just keep asking the penguins at the zoo if they've seen Ice Age.
Oh, dude, come on. Surf's Up was right there. Come on. And Happy Feet.
Yeah, I was about to say Happy Feet. That's the
Why
go-to.
the hell did I lead with Surf's Up? What's the matter with me?
Couldn't even go with Zootopia.
All right, so Katzenberg brings on Jonathan Groff to serve as the showrunner.
Once again, not the guy from Hamilton.
No, not the Broadway actor from Spring Awakening and Hamilton.
Uh-huh.
Jonathan Groff was at the time the head writer and producer for The Late Night with Conan O'Brien. He's going to go on to do things like Andy Barker PI. He's the showrunner for the later seasons of Scrubs. He'll do a whole run of things for ABC later on. Though preface is this is an NBC show. He does Happy Endings, Blackish, Black AF for Netflix. He's had a great career. And Father of the Bride.
After they put him down after making this.
Oh my god, Rich.
So off the bat, things are a little contentious. The Writers Guild of America gets into a whole issue with NBC and Dreamworks over which union has control on this show. Because it is a primetime sitcom, they want to make sure that these writers are protected by WGA. For those listening who maybe aren't familiar, if you're in an animation guild, you tend to earn less per episode. Your residuals aren't as good. You don't get as good of benefits typically. All things that should be changed. But it ends up taking a team of animators, about 200 people, 2 years to make this season of TV.
Wow.
And unfortunately, the WGA is not the only hiccup this show hits in pre-production.
I don't believe that for a second.
No way.
Because this episode airs on August 31st, 2004. That's our premiere date.
We're almost 18 years.
The year
we
invaded Iraq.
In October of 2003, Roy Horn is attacked on stage during their show at the Mirage by a lion, and their show, is officially over. At the time that this sitcom's getting created, though, Siegfried and Roy are insanely big. They had just signed a lifetime contract with the Mirage. They were going to do 8 shows a week, 44 weeks a year, estimated $50 million a year. That is bigger than any of these Vegas residencies going on right now. Like, I cannot state enough how big Siegfried and Roy are. They urge NBC, after Roy Horn is stable, to continue with the show. They're saying how much it means to them, how much they want to see it make it to air. So we've got a show now, and we are pumping it heavy during the Athens Olympic Games in 2004. If you remember, this is like every single ad for NBC. And they're really leaning into that from the creators of Shrek angle. So people think they're getting like a fun, family-friendly, Shrek-esque sitcom.
Oh boy.
When this airs, it is one of the most expensive 30-minute comedies ever made. It costs between $2 and $2.5 million per episode, which doesn't sound like a lot in these days of like prestige TV and all of like the wild cable stuff we see. But back then, especially for network, this is absolutely insane. And NBC needs a hit so bad. When this show aired in that August, they only have 2 other comedies on the air total. They've got Will and Grace,
Oof.
and they've got Scrubs.
Oof.
And then they've got Father of the Bride. They had a mid-season pickup they were banking on that was called Come to Papa with Tom Papa and Steve Carell. This lasted all of four episodes.
So this is pre-Office. This is like they gave Steve Carell a huge other shot almost immediately after that.
And it didn't work. So this is their cornerstone, along with one other sitcom that's going to air about 3 weeks after this, called Joey.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, Friends ended right before this show even made the light of day.
Yeah, so now we kind of have to address the little elephant in the room.
Which there are several.
There are so many elephants in this room. This is the premiere episode of Father of the Bride.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the pilot. The pilot that was produced never saw the light of day. It was never aired by NBC. They took all of the footage from it, they broke it back down into flashback episodes that you see throughout the series. So if you're watching this to get ahead of this podcast, or if you're any of the 3 of us and you're wondering what the hell is going on from the jump, you're not alone. There is a reason. Also, just a little fact then, this episode was written by a writer, Cheryl Holiday. She was a writer and producer on Martin, as well as a writer and executive producer on King of the Hill. Has done a ton of great stuff. If you are a big fan of like season 1, season 2 of King of the Hill, Cheryl Holiday wrote some of those episodes. So super delightful. But yeah, if you're like, what the fuck is happening here? You're not alone. There's a good reason. It's going to get even weirder than that. We'll get into that a little bit later on.
Yeah, wow. Max, I can only say somehow through all of that, I feel like I understand so much more about what happened in that show without you talking about the plot whatsoever. There's one thing I did want to make sure to say. This pilot was directed by John Stevenson, whom, if you do not know who that is, he directed Shrek, Kung Fu Panda, as well as Shrek 2. So when they say the creators of Shrek brought this to life, geez, they really tried their hardest. So let's start this synopsis of the show, and I'm worried to get into it because I feel like I'm gonna be reliving some terrible memories. But we start off with John Goodman singing Viva Las Vegas 2.
My city, gonna set my soul on fire. What was it, John?
I want to say that's probably half the cost of the most expensive pilot that's been made. And most expensive flop that's been made by NBC is just paying.
Why was John Goodman singing so much in the early 2000s? Like this, Blues Brothers 2000.
I was about to say.
Oh my God,
yes.
Yeah, like, listen, I love that John Goodman loves to sing. You should express yourself. I love to sing. John Goodman should not be doing this much singing.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, I think it's a good indicator that he shouldn't be singing because they gave him one of the least musical parts in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Is that not a good enough indicator that he shouldn't be singing? But they did trust him with the entire title sequence.
Yeah, the entire title sequence.
Vegas, baby.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We are recording this live from a poker table at the Mirage.
I'm 5 drinks deep. The waitress is consistently telling me I need to have more chips to get more drinks.
More chips.
So one of the things that came to mind was this was just a nightmare dream was the title sequence. It literally, I see an overweight lion somehow. We're going to get into the idea of anthropomorphic lions that somehow have curves and others are seemingly obese. But
oh yeah, you're talking about that that Lola Bunny Space Jam effect.
God, Jesus. Like, this was one of those things where we're rushed into the idea of, this is a lion. He lives here. He works for Siegfried and Roy. That's it. That's the show. And then immediately we are told that this lion is horny.
I have an issue even more so than that. Why are the lion and the elephant the exact same size?
guys, it's the president of NBC. Huddle up for a second. I watched the pilot of Father of the Bride.
Jack Donaghy?
This is Jack Donaghy.
Jack Donaghy, is that you?
I'm also the head of the microwaves division. Now, we ran a couple tests with the pilot, and we need to talk about something. People aren't turned on enough by the lions. These people should want to bang the lions. Look, we're NBC, goddammit. We are the network of Cheers and Friends. Our audience wants one thing, and that's fuckable lions.
Yes, Mr. Donaghy. Yeah, anything you say, sir.
And how's the pilot for Joey coming along?
No. I will say the opening scene of this pilot, right? We are brought into the zoo. We see Larry the lion walking his presumed son to school.
Do you know who plays the son?
Who plays the son?
Daryl Sabara of Spy Kids fame.
Oh
my gosh.
Man, that kid was thriving in 2003.
He thought that he had made it big when he signed on to that NBC pilot.
Whoa, that is some big dick swinging IMDb credit for a very young man. I am very impressed by what he was able to pull off. Congrats to him.
So what do we think so the child's name was Hunter. What do we think that Hunter did to deserve the cone of shame around his head? Because I've only seen that in instances of extreme surgery for animals or, if they're neutered. So do we think it's one or the other, and why?
Oh yeah, that kid can't stop playing with himself.
We are reaching the peak adolescence of that would honestly track for how this is. This is basically like a Chris Griffin type character from for Father of the Bride. And also, okay, I just want to point out one particular thing, because this does center around lions. The animals trained by Siegfried and Roy are tigers. I'm just going to say it. They're tigers.
There is a white lion who's also featured in their show.
No shit. Okay,
There's one.
Is that the one that mauled Roy?
No, that was a tiger.
Oh.
His name was Montecore. He's a friend of the pod.
friend of the pod, Montecore. If you hear this, give me a call.
But yeah, no, I'm like, you might find that I'm at a loss for words during this entire podcast because there's so much happening. Larry proceeds to then tell a gopher, I think it was Snack, who's played by Orlando Jones.
My dog.
That his wife is in heat and his daughter's going to be out of the house too. And I thought, what better opportunity than to educate our audience on lions being in heat. So for those that do not know, I had the distinct honor of being in Africa during mating season. So boys, a little quiz for you.
mating season's all year round, baby.
How many days does a female lion remain in heat?
Oh, God.
Is it 1 day?
Oh, boy.
Is it 5 days? Is it 8 days? Or is it 4 days?
Oh.
Oh, wow. The number went down at the end. That was a curveball.
Like, we're getting all sorts of balls on this this podcast. I'm gonna go with 4 days.
Okay, and Max?
I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna go for the top here. We're going 8 days of heat for a lioness.
Ooh.
Well, Rich, add 1 to your scoreboard because the average female lion will be in heat for 3 to 4 days, and not only that, the male and female lion will have sex continuously every 15 minutes for
Jesus
3 to
Christ.
4 days without eating. Now, we might be thinking, Jesus, how are they doing that every 15 minutes? It's because each second session only lasts 6 to 10 seconds at a time. So you
Guys,
feel bad about
you
yourself.
don't need more than that if you're doing it right.
Then you feel a little bit better about yourself, all within that. So when I initially heard Larry was in Heat, or Larry's wife was in Heat, Kate, played by Cheryl Hines of Curb Your Enthusiasm fame.
God, this voice cast is so good.
It's so good. And let it also be said that another character with a husband named Larry.
It's one of those things where
Same universe?
Yeah, possibly. Or Cheryl Hines has a type when she's reading scripts. When she
that type is a QAnon person, so let's be careful.
Oh no. So we see Larry start to rush back home to meet with Kate.
For the little zoom and the boom boom, as he tells his son.
Come on, shake your rump.
Oh, before we even get to Larry being like the head of the town, he mentions a Gandalf toy to a figurine to his son out of nowhere. And it blew my mind of thinking, did the writers just say, we need a 2004 reference? Lord of the Rings is hot right now. Let's just throw that in.
Also, NBC definitely does not own the rights to Lord of the Rings at this point.
No, but I think it's just funny that they imply like the zoo world of this, where it's like some kid probably threw a toy over the fence or something got left in like an enclosure or something, and now it's the kid's toy.
Absolutely insane.
No. Let's use our imagination to think Larry goes to Toys R Us, which is still around at this point in time, puts down...
Well, yeah, it's actually, no, it's owned by a giraffe. This is not that inconceivable.
There's a Toys R Us in the Mirage.
Shout out
Larry
to
goes down.
Toys R Us giraffe, friend of the pod.
He asks...
Another Jeffrey.
Another Jeffrey. Most Jeffrey's friend of the pod. Bezos. The giraffe. Epstein.
Oh my god. Well, I'll give Jeffrey the giraffe some credit. He spells his name the correct way. So from there, though, after we're only like 20 seconds into this episode, we find out that Larry is sort of the head of the town as the White Lion, right? Everyone's asking him. An orangutan asks him to check out a mole. A elephant starts asking if he has a house key for his roommate turkey. The elephant is definitely having sex with the turkey, right?
Yeah, I don't...
100%.
Yeah, the complex string of interspecies relationships in this show is not lost on any of us. It is very blatant from the moment they start.
Yeah, this is the first of many interspecies relationships.
Also, like, for some reason,
somehow not the most troubling.
It doesn't matter where the animals are actually from in the world. Allegedly, John Gibbons from the Bronx, although we don't really see this. But for some reason, the elephant is the only character who they gave this really thick, Indian accent to.
Yeah, and it's very much an Apu moment in The Simpsons where you're like, oh no.
Is he voiced by a white person?
Oh no.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, luckily he is not.
Oh God.
But finally Larry makes it home. He sees Kate. He starts talking about Mountain Time, which John Goodman also starts talking about his pee. John Goodman talking about foreplay is something I never knew I never needed to hear again.
It may be 9 o'clock in New York, but right here it's Mountain Time. Is like the worst version of Live from New York. It's Saturday night.
But the best way to ask someone for sex at any point.
But then Kate is interrupting him to say that they have a guest, and it's Lisa Kudrow playing a panda named Fu Lin.
What? Okay, so now you know how much Lisa Kudrow made for the last several seasons of Friends. How much do you think she got paid for this particular episode of Father of the Bride?
So
I have already said this is one of the most expensive 30-minute comedies ever made.
You guys, it's the president of NBC again. I just found out how long the mating period is for lions and how many times they could do it in one day. How can we work this in? Also, I found a really exciting way to tell people it's on in different time zones.
So, Fu Lin is in the dumps because her sister is pregnant, which I will give this show one piece of credit in saying that they really did nail that pandas don't have sex often, because she says that she's a 30-year-old virgin. I don't know if pandas can live to be 30, but I just accepted it and moved on. Meanwhile, we have someone doing research in the back. It's one of our associate producers. From there.
Not me writing how long does it take pandas to die instead of how long do they live. Oh no, it's...
Geoff, oh no, oh, what did you find out, Rich?
Oh boy, only 15 to 20 years.
Oh no.
Fu Lin is matronly at this point.
Some zoo pandas have lived to 35.
You've skipped over something, I believe.
Oh no, what was it? I can't wait to hear.
Are we not going to bring up Lion John Goodman spraying whipped cream on his nipples and making a smiley face?
Max, don't you worry. I was going to talk about our Varsity Blues moment for sure.
our second Varsity Blues reference in this podcast, in this very young podcast. Third?
Yeah, Ali Larder. Operation God. Varsity Blues, and now Father of the Pride.
Wow!
Oh my God!
All shows from 2004. We're through the Looking Glass, gentlemen.
All roads lead the blues.
We have to leave the year 2004 for sure. But through that, if you're not stunned enough by this voice cast, right? John Goodman, Cheryl Hines, Lisa Kudrow. We'll even give Daryl Sabara a bone. Carl Reiner.
Yeah, shout out to Junie.
Carl Reiner appears out of nowhere.
Dude, what the fuck?
As the most Jewish lion that I've ever known in my life. And if you didn't think we were bringing it back to Ocean's 11 in the pod about a Vegas TV show, Carl Reiner was here to make sure we were wrong.
Oh, man. So not only is Carl Reiner in this one of my favorite comedians of all time, an absolute living legend, even in 2004, like, you know, a lot of his top performances were behind him. This is one of the worst performances I've ever seen, and some of the worst dialogue I've seen be given to a comedy legend. It's like they had almost no respect for what he wanted. You guys, it's the president of NBC.
Oh no!
What now?
He has to leave. This is a union meeting.
I've been snorting Adderall and watching Mel Brooks movies, and I have an idea.
But, you know, up to this point, the only thing that I can say is a plot point is Larry is having trouble having sex because of Fu Lin. And Carl Reiner, if we were not sure of the exposition of the episode, is making so much fun of Fu Lin. Oh, wait, before we even talk about that, do pandas just eat furniture? Is this just an accepted thing in, like, the universe that we have to worry about our furniture everywhere?
Yeah, it's a really lazy bamboo joke.
Geoff, have you ever seen furniture and a panda in the same place?
No, but I saw a really cute video of a guy trying to give panda shots, and they were all running away. Highly recommend.
Well, I, for one, hope we're able to make some progress in finding Fu Lin a mate. Tell me we have some good news here, Geoff.
We have excellent news.
Oh, thank God.
There is
special delivery.
There's a panda named Bonbon, I believe, that is on its way and has been purchased by Siegfried and Roy. But what I'm more interested in is the news story that came up after that said summer is here with a clown with a gun in its hand. And that's all it showed. So I'd like to ask, what exactly does that mean as far as summer is here?
Summer is here. Guys, it's the president of NBC.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a bold choice to make John Wayne Gacy a character in the show.
Another living legend they gave terrible dialogue to.
We are then brought to... There's so much that happens in Larry's house. There's a cat that's begging to be mercy killed by being eaten. And then the cat has a much deeper voice than I thought anything was happening. The writers sort of mention, before it even happened, the concept of a zoo animal being killed by a rifle, and R.I.P. Harambe pre 2004.
Oh, are we getting into truly troubling references? Because I took a couple notes.
Oh, Rich, please let us in.
Oh God.
I know this is a little bit down the road in this pilot, but did anyone catch how they tried to figure out when they started dating? When Larry?
Oh man, when he makes a joke about the Leonard Skinner plane crash.
Why?
Yes.
Why? Who is this for? This truly has to be like, I know this is very much like on the heels of DreamWorks. We have to make more money off of the Shrek phenomenon and stuff like that. But also, this is clearly them going after Family Guy, right? Like, this is supposed to be their raunchy show. I don't know.
Yeah, but like this was also a prime time thing. This wasn't any sort of like Sunday animation domination. Like this premiered on a Tuesday night at 9 p.m. This was a tentpole. They thought they were going to like change the industry by doing a CGI primetime show.
We're also in like the golden age of animation where everything looks terrible but very expensive.
Oh my God. This animation made me think that this was made. I know that Max, you said this was like a $2.5 million pilot, but I could not help but think this was a Russian animation house that was making their own version of the Shrek, but happened to use zoo animals.
Yeah, but like DreamWorks animateds look good. Like if you saw Shrek or Shrek 2 or like Shark Tale at this time, these look like good movies. I know sometimes when like an animation house is a TV show, they're not exactly giving it to the A team or like they're outsourcing it. Like, do we think this was just like completely outsourced or something? Because it looks awful.
It looks like they paid, there is a great thing about outsourcing is sometimes you can collect full rates and only have to pay for half of the price. This looks like they paid a quarter to just some kid on the street and told them how to use iMovie, not even an animation software.
Yeah, these are the days of Flash Player, and boy, does it look like it's made by that. I mean, just a massive drop off in quality from Shrek. Shrek actually looks like really well done. They have a lot of like good fluid motions and designs and everything. It looks like that type of animation still holds up now. It does not at all once you get in here. It looks like borderline Toy Story 2 type territory.
I know this is supposed to be the Mirage, but like it is just giving 99 cent shrimp cocktail at Circus Circus vibes. Like,
yeah, this TV show just gave me so much more appreciation for things that were made before it and after it in this animation style. Like we mentioned Shrek, right? We could even talk about Shrek 2, which came out during this year.
I would love to.
But this just was a slap in the face. But you know what? Credit to this pilot. It made me appreciate animators and all the really hard work they do when they're actually dedicating their time and resources to something. This made me appreciate that studios can't just skirt the lines of animation or trying to make something this hard. There's a reason there's not more primetime animated TV shows out there. There's Family Guy, and that's sort of it as a whole.
Yeah, even South Park for airing on Wednesdays, it's super late and on cable. They could have easily gone with a cheaper option of making it a little bit more two-dimensional for the animation, but they really took a big swing and picked something that takes DreamWorks and Pixar and everything. Like, it takes them years to put that stuff together, and they tried to make a primetime show out of it. It's really a very bizarre choice.
I mean, obviously these movies that, when they get made, if you ever look at the budget for a Pixar film or like Illumination, it was Minions and stuff, like these things cost like hundreds of millions of dollars to make. It's such a labor intensive process. But I've got good news.
Oh.
Because our heroes, Siegfried and Roy themselves, are about to enter and save the day, right, Geoff?
Yeah, not only do they enter and save the day, but they enter via a spaceship, and there is no explanation of the mechanics of that spaceship.
You guys, it's the president of NBC.
No, I thought I closed the door.
So you
finally,
know
clarity.
You know how we normally pay a lot of money for animation? Well, here's my cousin Troy. He is Windows Millennium Edition. and I gave him $300 and some
All
of my
right.
Adderall.
All right, Troy, come in here. So we don't actually have the voices of actual Siegfried and Roy.
No, one of them
this
was
show.
mauled by a lion.
But we do.
We got better.
Yeah.
Because we've got David Herman playing Roy, who you might know as Michael Bolton from Office Space, and for like the 7 Futurama fans, he plays Scruffy.
Yeah, I will say another bright spot of this show, although some of the jokes are super off color, such as when they say "when the white men came," in reference to the pandas being nearly extinct. Some of the Siegfried and
They could have said that for Siegfried and Roy landing in a spaceship. That's when
that would have been really funny. But some of the Siegfried and Roy jokes were actually like they got me to giggle a little bit.
These are so far and away my favorite characters this entire godforsaken show.
Tell me more. Tell me what you liked.
Delightful. They're just like these little like mischievous like tricksters. They're just so like whimsical and goofy, and I think it's like almost important to set them up as just these absolute like oddballs, because like the spaceship, we're gonna see them later wear like 2 fake panda suits to try and observe how the mating process is going.
Some more giggles definitely came from the very rotund panda suits. But we are introduced to Bon Bon, who is played by Andy Richter.
Yeah.
But we do come to find out that Bon Bon is not his actual name. That's his slave name, which made me spit out my water literally onto myself as I thought I was safe.
You sure are.
That's how we meet Nelson the Panda.
I mean, truly, like, nothing says 2004 than letting Andy Richter just be himself in an audio booth. That is truly a troubling idea.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, Rich. He controls the universe.
Well, I was trying to do some math, and I think 2004, Andy Richter was still technically on Late Night with Conan O'Brien at this point in time.
Yeah.
And just off the heels of the hit movie Elf, which absolute banger of a film. I think that was in 2003. So Andy is feeling on top of the world, feeling untouchable. NBC's throwing him a bone by being Nelson the Panda. Nelson, we find out, has never met another woman. He does meet Kate, and he starts to definitely feel welcomed by her, but we all know why Nelson's here, right? He's here to meet Fu Lin, who is very desperate for male attraction. It was actually pretty funny. So the first time Fu Lin and Nelson meet, Nelson isn't aware Fu Lin's going to be there. During this entire time, Snack, remember the gopher played by Orlando Jones, is taking bets on how likely Fu Lin and Nelson are going to be in procreating. But
who's never made a friendly sex bet amongst friends?
But from there, when Nelson's terrified of Fu Lin, Snack just declares the panda be gay, and then changes the odds of the entire thing to 20-1. So, do we take those 20-1 odds, and how much money are you putting down? This is Vegas, of course.
Very, very, very strong. Very, very strong. I think I'm taking it. I'm in a gambling mood. I'm at the Mirage, which famously isn't the Lion Hotel. Which what am I supposed to do? That's the MGM Grand, which is Max.
One of Terry Benedict's casinos.
Yeah. What do you think about this part, Geoff?
So this entire, I do enjoy a good sports gamble. I have never thought of sex as a sports gamble. But right now, I think the odds are pretty long and maybe a little bit too high to give my $5 to $10. But we come to see, all right, Kate is trying to push this relationship between Fulin and Nelson. They're all hanging out together. But then, you know what? Nelson is interested in someone, but it's Kate. And
Oh.
during all of this,
Ooh.
Siegfried and Roy are just frolicking around in what I can only describe as blow-up panda costumes.
And asking each other about baseball.
You know these guys share bunk beds, like in this universe.
Yeah, they definitely give off this. I don't even know how to describe the energy that the Siegfried and Roy characters give off. It's closer than brothers. It's weirder than two best friends. It's just something entirely in its own category.
Why are you reading that review from their show in the Las Vegas Ledger?
Did either of you ever actually see the Siegfried and Roy show?
Was never lucky enough to do it. So I will admit this very honestly. So a peek into Geoff's window of life. I saw video highlights of Siegfried and Roy in the late 90s and went to my dad and said, I want to go to that. And my dad said, no. And that
end of discussion. End of conversation.
That was the end of the conversation. I mean, there was a lot
Mr.
going
Curvis
on.
is more of a Celine fan.
God, could you imagine what your life would have been like if you were allowed to have that experience in your formative years?
You know, there was something I wanted to be more than anything. I wanted to be a zoographer as a kid. Obviously, that did not happen. But who knows? Maybe Siegfried and Roy would have tipped me over the edge.
Keep trying.
Yeah, Geoff, you were very insistent that we do this show.
The people need to know about lion gestation and sexual practices.
I keep saying.
This is definitely supposed to be the shock and the big problem of the episode, that Nelson's into Kate. And Kate is trying to tell Nelson that it's not going to work. We then come to probably another what's happening here moment of Siegfried and Roy just suddenly have a scientist walk in with every single type of animal pheromone that there possibly is. And while one of the guys is asking what these are, the other one is applying them like they're cologne.
Those cheeky buggers.
Max, can you tell us a little bit about what happens after this cologne application?
Listen, you put on animal pheromones and you mess with the bull, you're going to get the horns.
Yeah.
And you mess with the giraffe, you're going to get the neck. And if you mess with all these animals, they're all going to want to have sex with you. If you start applying their pheromones to you, they're going to think you're one of their own to mate with.
You guys, this is the president of NBC.
Oh, no.
I've been reading this book. It's called Animal Farm.
How far have you gotten, buddy?
First of all, I probably shouldn't be running a network.
Don't you have an electricity company to take care of at this point in time?
Look, that doesn't matter now. We need more fuckable animal creatures.
Oh, gosh.
It's just insane to me that, granted, this is not the original written pilot, but this is your first look into the show if you are an audience. This is the first you've seen of it. And, the main arc of it doesn't even concern our protagonist. If you're following Larry, as we are, you don't have anything to follow other than he's horny. There's no A plot concerning our biggest character. All the action follows Nelson, and it's so confusing because it's you're not actually getting a good look at whose story you're going to be going along with for this series.
Yeah, there's I think there's definitely it's going to be Larry as the protagonist, just because I don't know, people follow him around. That is the titular role of being the father of the pride. But
he said the name of the show.
Ding 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 ding. This is going to be a very loose and weird show. There's nothing even indicating that Nelson is going to be part of the show after this episode whatsoever. It's star-studded. I love that. But it is just an absolute mess from the beginning. And it's probably because we don't have an actual pilot episode to base this off of.
Yeah, we could talk about how this pilot ends and talk about how Carl Reiner calls two pandas Meshuggah, makes a very rude baseball reference to
Oh
Fu
yeah.
Lin and Nelson about how not everyone's a power hitter and some people just need to hit singles, which, you know what? That was, I have to give the writers credit. That was a really funny line.
It's the same advice my
listen,
dad gave me.
It's 2004. We're at the time of the Moneyball Oakland Athletics. We're just trying to get on base. We're doing analytical baseball. We're just trying to put it in play.
All about that OBP. That's what Carl Reiner's all about.
But what did we see in the stats about Fu Lin? She gets on base.
Oh, God.
The Kevin Youkilis of the animal world.
Oh, jeez. And she's got a hell of a weird swing, just like old Kevin did too. As we, go off, Fulin and Nelson do end up getting together. Our boy Larry sings Billy Joel. I don't know how else to say it. John Goodman sings Billy Joel to Kate, and I got really upset because I love Billy Joel so much, and this was the rudest thing that could have been done to him. He did nothing. He did nothing to John Goodman.
He knows what he did.
This is just another example, though, of men doing the absolute bare minimum to try and get a little from their wives.
There's no bears in this. I checked.
So, was there anything that you loved about this pilot?
Oh God, is it too simplified to say no? and not give any explanation afterwards? I really just don't think. I think a lot of things like really took me out of that, like the Leonard Skinner reference. I'm gonna go back to it. It took me out of it. The Carl Reiner part is like really bad. It actually made me think worse of his like entire repertoire as an actor, as a creator and a comedian. Like this made it so much worse. And also, yeah, I mean, just knowing that like this seems like a product of like a weird algorithm instead of actual human thought is really upsetting.
I mean, I said it already, but I appreciate the wacky side characters of Siegfried and Roy, and other than that, I got a whole lot of nothing here. And any show whose final button in your first episode is an implication that a monkey and Siegfried had sex as a quote office romance is really bothersome to me.
So I actually want to lead that into Rich's game of the week. Ding 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 ding,
no.
ding ding ding.
Rich, you better be careful.
Now, you guys, we've talked a lot today about interspecies love, with the potential name of that being bestiality. Now, I want to give this a little Price is Right style treatment of according to the Kinsey Institute from a survey that they did.
What up, IU? Indiana University-based Kinsey Institute.
Shout out to all of our alma mater, Indiana University.
Shout out to Alfred Kinsey, friend of the pod. By the percentage point from this survey that they did, what percentage of men admitted to having a bestial or sex with an animal? Or some sort of sex with an animal. Close this without going over. Geoff Kerbis, what do you got?
First of all, Rich, I really despise you for not for the question for making me go first because this is Price is Right rules.
To be fair, you're on the top of the Zoom.
So I will say that we are dealing with 5% of all men.
Wow, Max Singer, what do you got for us?
I am going to drop a fun fact, and I am going to make my wager the viewership of the series debut.
Oh my god!
And so I'm gonna give it a 12.3.
Wow, only 12.3 people watch this. Geoff Kerbis, you are the man of the hour. You have won Rich Inman's Bestiality Challenge.
Oh, no. It's going on the LinkedIn profile.
according to the Kinsey Institute, 8% of men surveyed said they had a sexual interaction
Oh
with an
no!
animal.
I was hoping I
Wow.
was over.
I was also. I do want to put in a footnote that that number has been cited for a lot of incorrect survey tactics, and might have favored people who live on farms a little too heavily, and also. They made the claim that 50% of men who lived on farms have had sex with animals. A lot of problems with that one.
Is it safe to say that what happens in Vegas stays in
Oh
Vegas?
my god! Oh
Oh,
my god!
oh no! So
What animal was that?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe a howling monkey. Because I'm howling about this show. Instead of asking if this pilot
Geoff,
could
moving
be,
on very quickly. Are you uncomfortable with the subject
yeah,
matter?
I don't want to talk about bestiality anymore. um,
You're telling
in,
me.
Instead of asking if this pilot could be made today or who this show is for then versus now,
The answer to both of those questions is BoJack Horseman.
So instead of asking if the show could be made today or who this show is for then versus now, I want to ask instead, and I want to honor animated shows that really highlighted Jeffrey Katzenberg's ideas. And because when Max, I'll be honest, when you said that, I thought of a show that debuted more recently than 2004, and that was Big Mouth. Being able to use a show that is animated to talk about super serious things in a lighthearted manner and sometimes get very serious with those topics. So I leave the floor open to you two gentlemen. Is there a show that you would like to highlight that you think more so hits the idealized world that was pitched when this show was created?
So I think the only thing that we can really lean back on is Big Mouth and BoJack, like you were saying. I can't think of another show, maybe King of the Hill, that really dives into like some more like adult themes, but without doing it in such a way that it's like overly grotesque and kind of like for an immature watcher. What do you think, Max? What would be something in your mind that says like, oh yeah, this actually encapsulates the dream of Jeffrey Katzenberg, other than 8-minute shows that you can watch on your phone and can't take screenshots of?
I mean, I'm a really big proponent of animation is it's a medium, not a genre necessarily. Like you should be able to use animation to tell any story really. And so I do agree with like what his intentions were here. There are obviously fun, fantastical adult animated things like Tuca and Birdie, Archer, the short-lived Animals from HBO. But yeah, really, there aren't a lot that I can think of like off the dome that deal with like serious adult issues. They do tend to lean back into that fantastical element. But goddamn, if I don't want people to keep trying.
Yeah, I think The Simpsons also accomplishes a good life lesson of what happens when you put crayons in your brain. A realistic scenario for most adults.
So one other or two other shows that I will sort of give my honor to, and these might not come off as obvious, is if you're looking for an animated show that you can really enjoy the plot of, and you can also, it might not be deemed a comedy, but they do a really great job of addressing some of these topics that are a little bit harder to talk about. Watch the original X-Men series that you can find on Disney Plus, or watch Young Justice, which you can find on HBO Max. Both of those series do such a fantastic job about tackling some really tough issues like racial diversity, as well as the concept of gender identity and just the idea of being different and addressing differences. As much as I appreciate, I think it is very clear. I don't want to speak for both of you, but we do not recommend watching this pilot unless you want to be dumbfounded and scarred for the rest of your life. Would you both agree with me on that?
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on how much weed you're smoking. If you're smoking a lot of weed, Father of the Bride, it's for you.
I need to be very careful, seeing as we are currently on an airplane, to not use a word to describe this show that'll get us air marshaled.
Oh,
but yeah,
no.
it's a big time flop for
Oh
sure.
man.
So
Oh,
as we're
God.
in agreement, as we are flying this plane down, instead of taking the 20 or so minutes to watch Father of the Pride, instead dedicate it to something, a TV show that you think really will speak to some of those issues and address some of those topics.
But really quick, Jeff, remember how I said I was gonna get back to there being more about not being the original pilot?
Oh.
Uh-oh.
So, if you were to spend some money and purchase this show on DVD in its entirety,
No way.
you will also find that the order of episodes that NBC aired is not the order that they are released on the DVD set.
We got a happy ending scenario?
So yes, somewhere between DreamWorks and NBC airing this, these episodes are all entirely rearranged. On the DVD, this is episode 4.
What?
In NBC airing, it is the series premiere. This was the biggest show of the week that it aired. It got a 12.3. It dropped by 20% in viewership to week 2.
Woof.
And it was pulled from the lineup in November.
Oh my god.
It probably also didn't help that multiple airings of this were interrupted in primetime for updates on the 2004 presidential election.
Oh my god.
So the cancellation of Father of the Pride is probably the second worst thing that George W. Bush orchestrated.
Oh, no.
You guys is president of NBC.
You know, wait, we discovered, we know who animated this show. It was definitely George W. Bush. I've seen his paintings.
He is a painter, yes. He does love painting animals.
He loves painting cats.
Bush did 12.3.
Oh my god. For those also to add to Max who are curious, there were 13 total episodes of this made that you can find on Peacock if you really are very curious, but please, I beg of you, anything but this.
Look, if you know how to, if you're a good time boy like we all are, there's no better way to spend 6.5 hours than binging all of this.
And if you're listening to this episode and you want to complete the TV Pilot's License Challenge and watch all of Father of the Pride on DVD, please send us proof, and I don't know, we'll get you a prize or something.
We'll make you a
Figure it
1
out.
out of 1 t-shirt, handmade.
I'll send you a
cross that
shirt
bridge
that
when we
says
come to
Rich
it.
Inman's Bestiality Challenge.
Oh. Rich,
We're sitting on a warehouse and then we need to get these out of here.
if you follow us on Spotify and show us proof that you also bought the DVD, Rich will send you a DM saying you won the Rich's Bestiality Challenge.
Screenshot it, make it your profile picture for any social media.
So, you know, the plane is landing, gentlemen. As much as this has been a very bumpy ride with a ton of turbulence, where can we find you both?
You can find me on all things social media at Maxwell Sing. You can find comedy sketches from myself and Rich Inman on TikTok at Dadwagon Comedy.
That's right. You can find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich.
And you can find me at RunJeffRun on Instagram and on Twitter. You can also find us on TV Pilot's License on Instagram, Twitter, as well as on our YouTube channel. And if you're looking to listen to us, you can find us on all major podcasting platforms, including Anchor, if you want a one spot to shop.
Yeah, throw that subscription, throw that like, drop them 5-star reviews.
Oh yeah,
With-
leave reviews. Leave reviews
Yeah,
talking
please
about
leave
the
a
Bestiality Challenge.
review. Leave a
If
review.
you want us to talk more about Father of the Pride, please let us know.
We can just make this an all Father of the Pride podcast.
If you have other shows that you really would like us to listen to, make sure to follow us, leave us a note. We'd be happy to add it to the schedule. But until then, we're signing off, and Viva Las Vegas!